Hi, this is Pastor Deborah Curry here with Repairers of the Breach Broadcast Podcast. We praise God that you're taking the time to listen to me, and I pray that the words that I give you or the host words that come before you would enlighten, enhance, anoint everything God can allow for you to have. I pray that you receive. Good evening. This is Pastor Deborah Curry here live at WadeWorksStudios on Thinking Out Loud Network. We have an extraordinary guest tonight. In fact, you saw me where I talked about my son so many times over the years and even during 2019. When I say extraordinary, you're going to get a chance to hear a testimony. And see, people that I meet, they never understand. I sit there, and when I meet them with the, I want to say the discernment of God. But I listen because even in the field of law that I'm in, doing investigations, you have to find out, even though you know you're going to represent them in fact, no matter what, you have to find out where that person's heart at. And that's what I do in my business in law fields. But I'm going to introduce to you, like I said, an extraordinary young man. Because when I saw his insight and his wisdom, and you have to really, really have some wisdom for me to capture my attention on Facebook. He caught my attention because I read. And I can tell you, I may skim you, but if I stop and read what you posted, there's something there. So, but first I'm going to introduce you. And I call him my spiritual son, but I know he like, you, okay, I've got my beautiful mom and like I said, beautiful grandmother. I met her first. But you're going to meet Mr. Adolfo de Gracia. You can correct me if I'm wrong, but he's here tonight. And like I said, I brought him on because he's extraordinary. And I want you to listen to what God allows him. And so that's why I'm turning this station, or more or less this broadcast, over to the anointing of God, because he's going to reach out to your hearts and your minds. And for those that have went through injustice, we know we're going through that now. We went through it in 2019, and so many young men more or less declared Black Lives Matter. But I don't believe we're going to go in that direction tonight. He's going to more or less tell you some things about his testimony of life that caused him. And like I said in the end, I believe now, I'm putting it just like what our office says, he's going to be a rich man. So he's going to have to adopt his spiritual mom then. Okay? Tonight, this is Mr. Adolfo de Gracia. Greet the people.
Hey, how's everybody doing? Like she said, my name's Adolfo, last name de Gracia. From Atlanta, 25 years old. And I'm just really curious where you'd like to start this testimony.
Well, you know what? First, tell how we met. That's the point.
We met, that was 2019.
Yes.
And we met because I was in a legal situation where I needed assistance. Mm-hmm. And I contacted my Masonic brother, Mr. Charles Salters. And I told him, I was like, hey, brother, I'm in a predicament and I need some help here. How could you be of assistance? And he said, okay, well, let's get you a lawyer. Let's get you some legal representation. Yes. And that's when I was referred to Ms. Curry.
Yes. Okay. So after more or less we were introduced, tell them more or less, because that's what kind of, it's always, even when I sit down and observe some things, even what you went through. Mm-hmm. Literally, this young man could have walked out. And I'm saying literally. And that's what more or less concluded this innocent project. Because that's literally what he was, totally innocent. And the reason I give God the glory, God had to direct me to believe just what he said. And when he started talking, it was just so like God was saying, he's totally innocent. And when you get God to tell someone he's totally innocent, we are the type skeptical people, the life we live now, that everybody got to be lying and something about what they're doing is no, it's not truth. But tell them exactly what happened.
So what was that, August or September? I can't remember I believe it was August. What had happened is basically, the mother of my son and I, we had like a disagreement. We weren't on the same page. We weren't seeing eye to eye. So initially what had happened is that we agreed that she would come home maybe 3, 4, 5 p.m. or what have you. So she ended up coming home much, much earlier and found me in the house with a guest. So with that being said, she was not very pleased. Mm-hmm. So with that happening, she got very angry. She attempted breaking down the door, breaking things.
Like the natural female.
Right, going like the natural female. And she ended up actually going, and I heard her going running around in the kitchen, and she was like, "I got something for you." So I'm like, okay, she's grabbing weapons at this point. She's grabbing weights that I had around the house, trying to break down the door.
Yes.
This was a situation definitely not proud of, and I have to look back on, and this is something that I would like to speak on because, you know, we have to be very aware with the decisions that we make.
Yes.
And be very conscious of the decisions that we make because ultimately they affect other people.
Yes.
So with that being said, when she did manage to finally break down the door,
Yes.
And exactly that, I tried to keep her and the other woman separate.
Yes.
And that was successful, but after the other woman leaving, her basically in attempts to attack me and fight me, I'm trying to restrain her. She has weapons, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
So at that point, I'm trying to de-escalate the situation. And it ended up going that way. Still have a few scars, you know, from that
Yes.
situation.
Okay.
But it ended up actually, you know, de-escalating. So after that situation, we had, you know, we're trying to fix it, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
So for like maybe the next 3 or 4 days, we had, you know, been intimate with one another. We had been talking,
Yes.
been trying to fix what was going on. But one thing that I wanted to do is that I kind of wanted to take space because I noticed that there was a lot of toxic energy between us.
Yes.
A lot of negative things had happened. You have your insecurities.
Yes.
You have just negative connotations in the relationship. You know what I mean? So
Yes.
I said, you know what? Hey, let me go to a family member's house and let's work on this from a distance.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Wisdom.
And we can go from there because a lot of the times it's not always easy to handle things with another individual when you're consistently bumping heads.
Yes, that's true.
Sometimes you have to take a healthy amount of space to try to heal.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's not saying you don't, you know, you can talk. That's not saying, oh, I don't want to talk to you. It's just saying, hey, maybe we need to take a little bit of space
Yes.
and we'll come back to this.
That's
you know,
true.
that is a healthy option in a relationship.
Yes.
But what ended up happening 3 or 4 days later, I ended up telling her, I was like, hey, you know, my feelings are hurt. She expressed that her feelings are hurt. This is a part of communication that everything, you know, that has to happen.
That's true.
So we didn't agree.
Okay.
We weren't agreeing on the space. She thought she was right. I thought I was right.
Yes.
So I ended up saying, hey, I don't want to talk right now. We'll come back to it later. I'm going to take a nap.
Yes.
I ended up waking up maybe an hour to an hour and 30 minutes later to the police at my door.
Okay. Was she there with them, or they were just there?
They just popped up at my grandmother's apartment. She knew where I was. I told her where I was.
Okay. Okay.
The police popped up at the door.
Okay.
There may be 6 to 8 officers, and they're like, do, open the door. Okay, sure.
Okay.
What do you need?
Okay.
Put your hands behind your back. Why?
Okay.
So then they barge in the room. They're walking around. They're clearing rooms, trying to figure out what's going on. I'm confused, and I'm like, why are you here?
Yes.
No warrant.
Okay.
There's nothing there. They're just here. Why are you here? We don't know. What do you mean you don't know?
God.
Officer Baker told us to come get you. What? Do you have any firearms in the house? Yes, I do. So they just go through the house and they start grabbing stuff, and I'm sat on the couch in handcuffs, and I'm like,
Now, see,
why?
we didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because you were not even supposed to walk out that house unless there was a warrant then.
They had no
but I'm learning more now because we know what to add on.
They
okay.
had no warrant. So I'm then put in the back of the police car. Nobody knows anything. Nobody's giving me any details. And I was taken from College Park to Jonesboro
Okay.
to the old apartment.
Yes.
So she's there.
Okay.
So then I get there, and they have me speak to Officer Baker, whomever,
Yes.
I guess was the arresting officer, whatever. He's doing his investigation.
Okay.
So I get there, and my weapons are being removed from that residence. And I'm like, why? Why are you taking weapons that you know what I mean? Like that.
That was your, I guess, being your position
I'm
and
guessing.
career. That was more or less why those weapons are there. Because you know, in people's mind, what is he doing with weapons?
Right.
You'll learn more on into the investigation, the communication we're doing now. Go ahead.
Yeah. So to elaborate upon that, I do private contract security for a variety of companies. I also do security consultation.
Yes.
So you might see me at different venues, different events, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes.
So that's the reason why I have weapons, along with, just being a general Second Amendment, practitioner.
Right. Yes,
You know what I mean? But it's not as if there's illegal things or anything like that. No, everything's legal. Everything's definitely his name. But to get back to the point, yes. So he asked me what had happened. I told him what had happened. And we just had a discussion. So then they put me in the back of the police car. They I was completely confused.
I know you were.
And then they began to question. They read me my Miranda rights after they questioned me. So that was peculiar as well. Okay. So then I was taken from that resident in Jonesboro. Then I was taken to the police department where he went to go pull the warrants.
Okay.
So initially, the paperwork that I saw that him filing were for aggravated assault by strangulation and cruelty to children or something like that because the child was present.
Yes.
So those were the initial two charges that I saw on the police officer's laptop, and those were the initial two charges that I was told I was being charged with.
Yes.
After that, he came out from pulling the warrant. I had been in the office with two other officers. It had the additional charge of rape.
Yes. Now, explain to them how that came about.
So basically, how that came about is from what I understand, she says that she never said that. I don't. You would know the details of the case. I've kind of let that go at this point. But they inferred basically from what she had said that I had raped her. Why that was not an initial charge, if that was the case, when it was completely consensual for 3 to 4 days.
Yes.
This was and they say it was rape for one event. Well, how is it that when it was consensual before, the day of, the day after, the day after that, and you can guess the rest. But that additional charge was basically thrown on there. So what ends up happening is I get transferred to the jail at this point. And I'm thinking, I don't know very much about this situation. I'm not used to dealing with this kind of stuff.
Yes.
The next day I'm thinking first of appearance. I've called her that night. We talked. I was just like, man, I don't know how this got there. She's confused how the charge got there. We're both confused.
Yes.
So then I was like, hey, it's okay. I'm just going to release my property to you in the morning. We'll pay the bond, et cetera, et cetera. Yes. She says, sure, da-da-da. She comes and gets my property. I'm relieved. I know she has my property.
Yes.
And with that being said, the following morning I get first appearance. And the complete opposite of what I thought would happen happens.
Exactly.
I'm told that I cannot communicate with her.
Yes.
I am told, remind you, I just released my property to her.
That's the truth.
I'm told that I cannot communicate with her. And not only that, but I have no bond.
That's exactly.
So following that later, I go to, not a first appearance. What's the following? The preliminary. So so I go to preliminary, and some paperwork hadn't been done or whatever. So my lawyer was not able to represent me at that point in time.
That's true.
So they gave me a public defendant, public pretender.
That's true.
So with that being said, the woman's like, yeah, this doesn't look right. This doesn't sound right. This police report, this is crazy. So she's going back and forth, communicating with Miss Curry and I. Exactly. So we're trying to figure out what's going on. She was there. She was there for every single every single court case.
That's it.
Remind you, after them charging me with that, she recanted her statement and signed an affidavit. So let's put that out there as well.
Yes.
In every court appearance, even including the first appearance, she was there.
Yes.
In attendance, trying to talk to somebody, trying to be like, hey, no, this is not what's going on. What is this? Like, why is this happening?
That's true.
So what point did that DA speak to her and was like, no, you can't?
In fact, it was that first
It was a preliminary.
Because what happened, you remember, when our attorney did not appear that day, I wanted to speak with the DA to find out what was going on and why the affidavit that your baby's mother had gave to us, because she was there. I picked her up every day of the hearings and brought her there because she said, no, let me speak to the judge to let him know this is a falsified charge. But then in the process, I found out how rape was associated with your charges. Mm-hmm. When she went down to the police department.
Oh, not to mention when I was being removed from the police department, she was going in.
That's exactly.
I forgot to mention that, and they told me I couldn't speak with her.
That's exactly. So what happened is that's when the officer Baker, you remember, well, you don't remember, maybe you all discussed it later, had told her when she was like, I did not get raped. Well, he said, well, let me tell you this. Maybe you'll change your mind and reconsider, which he was not supposed to do. So like I said, it's a suggested type thing. He told her, well, you know he had that woman with him. So you know it's going to heat a woman's mind up. Okay. He said, so really, what happened after that? She said, well, he came back over and we had relations. And I guess that was his mindset right there, rape. Now, you know, even though we already know too, the DA for the county knows as well. It really did. It hurt my heart. But then the DA is the one who more or less threatened. You could have walked out of there that day too if our attorney hadn't got there in time. Mm-hmm. Because the DA threatened your baby's mother.
And not to mention, the judge asked me, had brought me into the courtroom and had asked me several times, do you want to proceed with this hearing with our public defendant? No, I do not. That's not why I paid for an attorney.
You did not tell them you wanted to proceed with the public defender.
No, I told them I didn't. And that's the reason why I had to sit there.
Perfect. But no, you could have got out. And we're going to talk to you about that too. But right. No, the situation was the DA threatened Amir.
Right.
Your baby's mother.
Which is a witch.
And said, if you recant it, we're going to lock you up. So think about fear.
Mm-hmm.
Fear came over her right then. But no, she did not recant either because she said, And I said, and I had to stop her in the hallway of the courthouse. And she did not know I was listening. I said, excuse me, DA, do you not know that's against the law? And she shut up. And that's really why we overturned your case. Mm-hmm. Because when we did the motion to dismiss, and even though they took you to grand jury, they knew they was in trouble. They more or less replaced the DA and put him. I'm gonna say it because I hate to use gender, but a white guy, and he thought he was gonna come and buff up at us, and I said no. Well, you messed up. If you had told the young lady to hold her peace, she threatened the baby's mother, so automatically they said they could not use her testimony. So, but thank God, God had purpose for you. That's what I keep looking at. He had purpose because he knows you have a work to do. Mm-hmm. And I see a lot of it on Facebook. I'm telling you, I see a lot. Now, you know I've got to come this way before we go further. Mm-hmm. I see these type. Talk to me because you know what I'm trying to say. There's some Buddha somewhere and sometimes, are you from over there?
No. So my mother is from Macon, Georgia. She's African American. If anybody's ever been to Macon and heard of the Pryor family, that's my family.
So they're well-known people.
Yeah, there's a lot of them.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm half African American, and my father is from Panama. So yes, my grandmother came over here, married an American soldier. Citizenship and all that stuff. Okay. So they're citizens.
Okay. Well, Okay.
Yeah. So with that being said, one thing that I try to do is that a lot of the times I believe that people are separated by perspective.
That's true.
And with that being said, we're very factionated. Mm-hmm. Even George Washington said that we cannot be factionated. So we separate ourselves with religion. We separate ourselves with race. Or you separate ourselves with culture. We could be the same religion, but we're culturally different. Mm-hmm. So what I try to do is appeal to the masses and let people know that there's knowledge and enlightenment in any culture, in any race, and we all have to appreciate each other to find some system of unity.
Okay.
You know what I mean? So that's why, one day it might be something Christian related, one day it might be something Buddhist related. At the end of these days, all these books have something that we can learn from.
What you're telling me now, you're not a Buddhism.
No, not at all. I am Christian.
That's, you have to, because once I know many followed you once they found out you were going to be on here. So I want you, because you get, like you said, you have those that sit back, you got the criticism, and then you got those that saying, okay, let me see what's in it. Because that's what I saw. I saw the wisdom of a situation, and it teaches you how to have a right relationship with people.
Absolutely.
And literally sometimes it teaches the same principles of how to get along. The body of Christ, what we are one body.
Absolutely.
And you think about it, we have a problem with our own bodies. If we're constantly having something fighting each organ in our body, there's going to be a conflict. And that's why you got sickness in bodies.
Absolutely.
So that's the situation, even with relationship. And I know you probably heard about me was constantly talking about, no, I was not going to marry. I was going to marry. And one mother, she's a pastor that's going to be up under my ministry, but I didn't even know she was a pastor, but I knew God brought her to me on purpose. But when she started reading it, and she was telling me I'm a pastor, and she started coming forward, she said, you know what? And she called me Minister Curry. And she spelled it Carey, and I don't know how that came out to Curry. But anyway, that's why she was saying, she said, you know, Deborah, you can't just marry Minister Curry. You can't just marry anybody unless you agree with him. I said, that's the scripture. How can two walk together except they agree? And so that's a factual situation there.
Absolutely, because a lot of the times to have relationships, we have to communicate. But what people don't understand, relationships are indeed about communication, but more so with any relationship, whether it be family, friends, or anything of that magnitude, it's understanding.
Yes.
The communication is the beginning. That's like saying, okay, I know what's going on. What am I going to do about it?
Yes.
Communication is knowing what it is. Let's talk about it.
Yes.
Understanding is doing something about it.
Yes.
So that's my take on that.
So let me ask you, since you said that, how is your relationship now with and she's like a friend to me too. I don't talk to her that much, but Amir, how's she doing?
We weren't able to have an understanding. After being released from jail, it had a very heavy toll on both of us mentally. Okay. PTSD is very real, and we in the Black community have to understand that situations that detriment our minds, there's nothing wrong with seeking the legal professional.
Okay.
You know what I mean? That's not necessarily the path we took, but I know a lot of the times we, as a community, have a hard time seeking help or talking, especially men, talking about that we have a problem.
Yes, that's true now.
We want to be tough. We want to keep it in. We don't want to talk about it. You have to talk about it.
And it comes forth with aggression. And sometimes that's when men holding in what the woman is doing that he does not like. And sometimes it's not so much as physical. It's just what he feel in his mental mind, what she's doing wrong, and then lash out. Because that's the only retreat he knows. And
sometimes, even if it's not aggressive, it's nonchalant. It's dismissive. It's passive aggressive.
Yes.
So with that being said, that's where the communication and understanding comes into part. And we communicate. We just don't quite understand one another. But that doesn't stop us from taking care of our child.
Because you love both of them. Both of you.
Absolutely, and you got to understand, when you have a child for somebody, you have to have a degree of respect for them. You should have respect for anybody. Yes, you should have love for everybody. But that's different.
Yes.
You know what I mean? At the end of the day, you should be, if it's not child support, you should be making sure that you handle your responsibilities for your child. At the end of the day, she should not feel like a single mother when that child has a father.
Perfect. See, again, wisdom. And so many, about 80% of the young men nowadays, that's why the father is not in their lives, literally. That's exactly why. But now talk to me about that, and I'm glad you brought that up. So, I mean, how are you all communicating now, just being mother and father to my sweetie pie? Okay.
At this point, text messages. That's a big thing. If we don't quite understand each other, we're gonna call each other, and if you don't understand one another, that doesn't necessarily mean you can't come to a compromise.
Okay. So you are there at compromise.
We're at compromise. We don't quite understand each other, as if one is right over the other, but a compromise can be met. You know?
She allow you now to go your separate ways and do what you want to do and be in agreement with that?
Yeah.
Now that's good. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Now that's the reason I'm saying that's really good, because I try to relate with and maybe in his mind, like his sister said. Now, you all, I'm not calling my ex-husband crazy, but the crazy, like you say, when, honey, she just crazy. But no, he cannot agree unless he feel I have to marry him again. So now you talked about, what would that mean with a man mind that he feel? Because his sister tells me when I talk with him, he said, this man is crazy, because he said, you'll always be his heart. And I'm like, well, how can I be his heart when he has a wife? You understand? And if she hears that, it's going to cause a problem.
Absolutely. And that's not healthy.
So
that is a toxic attribute that he has, and he's taking that into his relationship. And I'm sure that it shows in some form or fashion. Whether it be their intimacy lacking in some aspect, whether him not having the initiative to do certain things,
like
whether his communication, just simply when, say for instance, everybody knows, as if you force your child to play basketball and your child does not like basketball, his heart's not going to be in it. He's not going to perform well. He might, but what are the percentages of that? Well, let's not take that risk. Right. Let's let the soccer player play soccer. Let's let the football player play football. Okay. So with that being said, if his heart isn't there, that's like him being a baseball player and you gave him some ice skates. He's probably never skated before in his life.
So what would happen, you think?
I think it's not going to work. Or either maybe they might be able to have a compromise and they can coexist. But that's not happiness. That's toxic. You're holding that person back and detrimenting yourself, ultimately.
So then that's why he cannot talk to me unless, I don't know what it is. Because I sometimes, because we have children together. Mm-hmm. And I do try to talk, but it's like, And I'm like, okay. Why we cannot talk unless it's something personal? I'm like, no. And so what would happen if I marry again? And I've told him many times, I'll invite you to dinner. Mm-hmm. So what you think? I mean, so you still goes back to what you just described him to be.
He's still holding it in his heart. He hasn't healed. He hasn't released. He has an attachment. And a lot of the times we as people find attachments to a variety of things, whether it be possession or whether it be another individual. But at the end of the day, attachment isn't always good. And it sounds as if he's attached. And since he cannot express himself and have those feelings reciprocated, it causes anger.
So that's why he cannot talk to me unless I talk to maybe a possible future with him.
Yes, he's still attached. He wants what he wants, which is ultimately, if you want something and somebody else doesn't want something, but you're going to force your agenda, quite frankly, it's selfish. That's not fair to the other person.
So would you relate it to being obsessive then?
Obsessive and a lack of maturity. And maturity has nothing to do with age. If you have children with this person, you have to be able to communicate with them for the sake of those children. You know what I mean? Even as an adult, children they're grown in the legal sense after 18, yes. But they need guidance.
That's exactly, yes, it does.
They need guidance. They need somebody to help them. At the end of the day, a lot of the times, our family are our legal or our mental professionals.
Yes.
And if I can't talk to my mom and talk to my dad, I'm missing something.
That's true. Okay.
So for people that have dealt with unfortunate situations, my heart goes out to you. But there's no reason why normal people have to miss out on something because the parents can't both be there for them.
That's exactly. Because that was kind of strange. And this is literally what happened because I gave all of them his number and told him to call him. Is that your car? Or is that yours? That's yours?
That one's not mine.
I don't know. Okay. But no, okay, so what happened is that now when he calls and talks with, at least that's what comes back and relates to me. Mm-hmm. Dad told me to tell you, you'll always be his heart. I'm like, okay, did you all talk about anything else? So right. I don't know. I'm sure that I hope anyway. Right. But why would he have to always try to relate that through them to me?
He's doing his best to reach out for you, to you.
But I try to. I mean, not talk with him per se, but to communicate.
Mm-hmm. Well, it sounds as though that sometimes when you want to get something, you have to be willing to do other things. Mm-hmm. So say, for instance, he wants to communicate with you in the way of being personal. Mm-hmm. He has to take the steps to get there. Exactly. You're trying to go to A to Z. That's not going to work. You have to go to B, C, D, and E. You have to take your steps. You have to make that person comfortable with you. You're not going to walk up to somebody in the grocery store and be like, hey, how's it going? Let's get married. What?
That's so true.
That's unusual. That's peculiar.
Yes.
That's not a societal norm.
Okay.
So with that being said, you have to take that type of ideal and you have to put it to this. You be like, hey, if that's where you want to be, you have to jump through these rings first.
Okay.
We have pain. We have, negative situations that have happened. We have, traumatic thoughts. We have bad memories. Let's talk on making that together. You know what I mean? Let's talk about it. Let's communicate it. Let's understand it. Let's understand one another. Let's understand what's happened and know what's right and wrong and move forward from there.
And I'll tell you why I know that to be a fact. He was married. Well, this is his third marriage. Okay. The second marriage, the lady was wealthy, gave him anything his heart desired. One day, I remember sitting in Kroger's on Cleveland Avenue, and he happened to call me. I forgot what it was about. I said, "Hey, Roy, how you doing?" And got into a conversation. I said, something about him doing real good. And we was just like chatting. All of a sudden, and this was before my daughter passed away, the oldest daughter. She bust out and started laughing at baby about 2 weeks later. And she said, "Mama, what happened between you and Dad?" Oh, Lord, me. Okay. But she said, "What happened between you and Dad?" And I couldn't, because for her to say it like that and just bust out and start laughing. She said, "Mother," she said, "I'm going to say it like this. I think you caused your dad a divorce." And I'm like, "What you mean?" I said, "No, I just told Dad I'm doing fine. I mean, you're a father. I'm doing good and happy." And we just laughed a little bit, and then we left. She said, "Mama, he's getting ready to get a divorce."
Chemistry is not physical. Intimacy is not physical. Those type of things can't be bought.
So why would you think he'd do that? Now, he's with a wealthy woman. Y'all, excuse me. My son, he's on the road over in another country. And he's calling his mother. So you know how that is. He loves his mother. But anyway, we're going to go forward. And I'm on the air. And Gabe, I'll call you right back. Bye-bye.
But yeah, there's nothing that woman can buy him that will replace the things that he holds in his heart and his mind.
But what could he be holding when it was chaos? So all he sees is the good part of that.
It was chaos, but sometimes after you lose something, you start to appreciate what you had. Because you look back on, maybe I shouldn't have acted like this. Maybe I shouldn't talk like this. Every day you accumulate knowledge. So with that being said, if you say, for instance, have a revelation today about something that happened 3 years ago, you're going to view what happened 3 years ago completely different. A lot of the time, situations aren't as bad as they seem. But every day you have new interactions with new people. You see a post on Facebook. You read in a book. You read your Bible. And you're like, I see something differently now.
Okay.
So it sounds as though that it was chaos when it was happening. But after it ended, he realized what he's lost.
So I guess what he see now is that she was altogether good. Whatever I thought it was not back. So now I want
possible, very
that
possible.
back is more or less.
Very possible.
See, this is good because you know what? One day maybe I'm gonna call him and tell him to come up here, and his wife as well, because I'm not gonna sit here and try to influence him in a way to make her think, oh, they're getting back together. I pray to God that'll never be. So that's all I can say right there. But because you never know what life will do. So I tell God I can never say never. But again, talk to me now, because I guess I look at you being a young man. Mm-hmm. He's young. Now he may look like 18, but like I said, he just said 25. So what in life have you went through to make you gain that type of wisdom?
Honestly, the situation that we've discussed, this has been the primary situation that changed my outlook on life. Before, I had like religious awareness, I would say. So I realized there was a God, didn't really agree whether Jesus Christ was a son of God or whether Buddha was real. You know, I stayed neutral. You know, you believe in the new universe, you believe in systems of karma, you believe in give positive, get positive, you know what I mean? Things like that. But at the end of the day, I've always been more of a stay to myself kind of person, more introverted. So a lot of the times I've been more like a chill, more relaxed, more kind of like gray toned person. Okay. And going through this situation and you have to sit, you know, you're completely innocent and you have to sit in maximum security with real killers, real robbers, real armed robbers, real burglars. Yeah. You know what I mean? People that have been to prison 2-3 times, and you have to fight.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
I didn't know that.
Oh yes, very much so. You never saw any marks on me, but yeah, of course.
Oh my God.
But you know.
But I'm glad you're telling me this because I have to add this.
Oh, of course.
For your compensation. You don't understand how we learn, but I'm glad you're talking now.
Right.
That was a purpose, again, for you being here tonight. But now, you know I have to come and ask you this. So you never, while you were sitting there in isolation, because that's literally to me would be isolation.
Oh, 23 hours a day, 24 hours a day, 22 hours a day, whatever they feel like.
That's true. Okay.
So
any time during that time, do you believe that God visited you in reference to your salvation?
I wouldn't necessarily say that I felt anything like a an apparition or like, you know, something like that. I felt as though one of the guys in the same area, he gave me a Bible. So, you know, you got free Bibles, you could request it, and he gave me a Bible.
Okay.
And it's crazy because I read the New Testament, the entirety of the New Testament. And I lied to you not, maybe a day or two after I was released.
Praise God.
That is, you know, so I can't say anything like spiritual visiting or anything like that.
Go
But that is very peculiar, you know
was.
what I mean? So,
So you feel I know you did because you read the New Testament, who is the salvation of all things. But do you believe it was something you had to speak to him, because it couldn't have spoke to nobody else? They would have known it.
Every day, it was consistent reading and prayer. And it got to the point where I ended up getting a Bible, so I would read the Bible with my dictionary to make sure I could really understand.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So, you know, a word can mean 3 different things.
That's true.
So let's read this and understand the potential different meanings it could have.
That's it.
You know what I mean? So from Mark, Luke, John, being the retellings to Romans, you know what I mean, all the way to Revelations, everything was a story to teach you. Everything was something for you to grow from. Yes. So I went from being that gray introverted person.
Yes.
So now I'm still very much introverted, but if you put me in a social setting, I'm more engaging.
That purpose.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm more, it's easier for me to have conversations with people and to try to bring enlightenment to them. That's why I post the things I do. That's why I communicate with people the way I do. Yes. Because at the end of the day, when I read that Bible, now every day is, how can I benefit somebody else?
Okay.
Let me give that positivity. You know what I mean? Oh. Let me teach somebody. Yes. Let me help them make their day better. Because at the end of the day, we have to realize you never know what someone's going through.
That's true.
You never know if their family member just died, if they were hurt, beat up, if they've been abused in their past. So you don't know what to do to help them. That's but true. There's one remedy that you can always do to help anybody.
Yes. Be
kind. You're not doing anything to hurt that person. Only thing you're doing is helping.
See, that's why I know you. I say it like this because I'm saying I'm listening to you, but I'm also listening to what God is telling me about your heart. And that's why I said, did you ever, because a lot of times, let me tell you the reason I'm asking you this. I've encountered over my years with the Lord, which is maybe, 50 years, mm-hmm. I've spoken to many. I could not count the people around the world I've spoken to, but the ones that say they know him does not relate to him as you're saying you relate to it. Mm-hmm. If you understand my meaning. So it gets to let us know to walk with him is to identify with him, to have a communication with him. Mm-hmm. So when you hear people say, oh, well, I know him, but don't know nothing about him, goes back to what we were just talking. Mm-hmm. My husband, he knew me in the sense of a husband knowing a wife when Abraham said, Isaac went into Rebecca or Sarah, and they knew each other. Now, someone would look at that and say, what do you mean they knew each other? He already had met. But they don't understand in the Bible, it had a whole fruition of understanding. They knew. And literally, a lot of relationship, a man go have sex with a woman, but never know her. If you understand me, they never came into a soul tie. They just slept with one another and then got up and went to another young. So that's what I'm trying to ask you. Thank you. That's exactly.
Right.
Because they didn't get a chance to know each other first in an emotional sense. The emotions didn't get, like you just said, chemistry. Mm-hmm. Okay, they never knew anything about him, so they just knew him by the sense of flesh, but not in the spirit. Mm-hmm. So did you ever, and I know you are, but I have to ask these questions because we are on air. Mm-hmm. You read that, and that was kind of like my relationship with God when I first gave my heart to him. Mm-hmm. When and literally a lot of people say, no, he has to introduce, somebody have to introduce you to him. Mm-hmm. And that's why we have a lot of problems, why people just can't relate to one another in the spiritual sense I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Because I'm listening to what you're saying. You've explained just the relationship with the Lord that we should have as children of God. Your baby, when I met him, he let me know a lot about you just by looking at your baby. Because he loved you. I mean, I knew that like, oh, daddy. Because I was giving my testimony about 2 weeks ago about my love for my dad. And I was like 6 or 7 years old. But I knew my dad. If you understand, I knew he loved me. It wasn't like, because he's my dad, he's going to protect. I knew him. And maybe because I studied him. Maybe if I'm a little child, I just knew him. I mean, to understand, not like no sexual thing, but I knew him in this, that was my dad and he loved me. And maybe because he did things that caused me to respect him, if you understand my meaning. Maybe if he had been the kind that beat my mama or cussed my mama out, anything that would have brought harm to the one that said that was one. If you understand me, he would have been fighting between one another. I studied him because I knew as a young lady being the wisdom wife, well, a little child, okay, correction. I just looked at love. And if I saw it on TV, even if it was children between children, sisters between sisters, brothers and whatever, I understood to be loving, just kind, more or less. I guess that's it. And now I guess I'm learning now that you did get a relationship. Did you ever go through, hypothetically, the sinner's prayer like everybody be talking about?
Sinner's prayer, you mean Psalms 51?
No. You said you read the New Testament from...
Absolutely. And Psalms, regularly.
Well, you know, yes, that's automatic.
23, 51, 27,
God, okay.
90, yes, absolutely.
So I guess since you read, and see, I don't want to lead you. That's why I said, because it's there. I'm hearing it, but it's there. And maybe we are saying something totally not the same, but it's communication. Did you ever, when you read the New Testament, anywhere about relationship between him and the creation? Because that's what you are to him. He created you for a purpose.
Absolutely.
And that's what the world don't even understand. They just go about selfishness, about what I want, and I want it this way, and I want it that way, and I'm going to accumulate this much, and I'm going to do this. But I believe you all had a relationship of communication.
With God?
You and
Absolutely. It was consistent. I can't go a day, I can't go times without just praying throughout the day now.
That's what
I went from not really playing all that much, not ever reading the Bible, to now reading the Bible semi-regularly, praying through any period of the day. You know what I mean? If I see something I don't like, rebuke it, Lord. God forbid it happens, Lord.
That's it. See,
you know what I mean?
Okay.
Always praying to make sure that I make the right decisions the first time. Don't let me have to fall and butt my head anymore. Don't let me make a decision that hinders my life. Don't let me make a decision that detriments my life.
And do you think that came from him, you seeing that whatever you asked God for, it came 3 days later? It didn't take no year. It didn't take... He heard you because he saw your heart.
Absolutely. And I felt as though when I had reached a point of fully understanding or maybe completing the Bible that, you know, I had been praying for it the whole time, but God's going to be an on-time God.
Yes, he is.
And it's very interesting that when I completed the New Testament and had the full story, that at that point I had been released. I got called up, and you're like, hey, you got an attorney's visit. I see you, and you're just like, hey, they did this wrong. That you were supposed to get released days ago. I was supposed to be released like a week and a half ago. But as soon as I finished the New Testament, it's time to go home. What?
That was God. That's all, Daddy. Okay, yeah. But you know, that's why I said just the things I'm learning tonight on the air. It was a reason. It was a purpose. But I'm so excited now to know the relationship you have with him, because I know there was a purpose in all this, because you have a great future for you. And I'm hearing you now, but I'm just sitting there saying, I'm smiling because I'm saying, look at my son. Okay, even though that's my godly son. Okay, I mean, I'm just excited. You don't understand. When I hear about relationship with God, especially in men, you're going to be a pillar of where someone can come and say, you know what, brother, let me just sit down and talk. Because many men don't have that nowadays.
Absolutely.
They have what is that, ace coon boom? I guess they call it. That's old fashioned now, but they have someone to come in and say, man, you know what, this, and they go off in there and never talk about God. And literally, that's now.
At the end of the day, we have to understand there needs to be a system of each one teach one. You know, if I know something and I can help you and I can guide you, as long as I'm not hurting myself, I should be giving that to you. You know what I mean? As you said, you should be a pillar. But not only should you be a pillar for those around you, you need to be that in your household. You need to be that in your family. You need to be looking to be the next leader of your family. You know what I mean? To surpass your father, surpass your grandfather, and to break generational curses, and then to lead new legacies and set the foundation for the future of your cousins, your younger cousins, your brother, your sister, and your children.
That's true. So now, since this has happened and transpired, like I said, remember your godmother. So anyway, I'm going to bring him back after the fact, because he's going to give you even the greater testimony. But according to what you went through again, is it anything you want the people to know? Because we're going to set something up that you're going to be talking to young men, older men, men that come out of incarceration, things that you saw that maybe you could have helped them, but they wouldn't have not been listening to you because they feel like, well, you ain't here with me, man. What can you tell me? Someone need to understand the depth of relationship. You understand what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So that's why I know we're going to set something up. Even I'm going to talk with Victor Hill, as other counties as well, that now since they have voted in more or less minority type sheriffs, we can get someone in there. You need to be someone on that podiums talking to them young men. You really, I'm telling you, I don't sit here and consider anybody that I don't know they can help. And I'm telling you, that was a purpose. And I'm seeing it now. It was not coincidental that you met me, and I tell many that. I've met some people. In fact, I was talking to the young man, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago on Zoom. You might have saw it, Thomas White from Boston. Mm-hmm. He wants to meet you. Yeah, and I'm telling you, I guess you heard me say about you. I said, there's a young man you need to meet. I knew it then. So anyway, and hey, maybe he going to come with you all because he sits back and watch and observe. And I tell him, if there's anything wrong, I say, ain't it son? I said, okay, he knows. He knows too. But you all need to get together. There's so many young men. They need people like you all to talk with them. I'm serious. Really do. But talk to us. Is there anything else you want to talk to the audience and tell them that what they need to know? Because there's wisdom in you that the world needs.
I feel like there's so many things that I could say. But one of the main things that we need to talk about is just being very aware of actions and the effects of those actions.
Okay.
So with that being said, every day today we have, even the Capitol situation we just had. That was an action. A lot of people didn't expect the reaction to be getting pulled off planes, to be losing jobs, for them to be coming to your house. Oh, they confused. They screaming and crying now.
Yes, they are.
So with that being said, we need to make that applicable to our lives.
That's true.
How you treat people, the actions you make to make, whether, to stay away from illegal behavior, to stay away from, those types of ordeals, things like that, because all those actions have reactions.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Let's treat people right. Let's not talk to somebody and be passive aggressive because you didn't know what happened. You weren't kind. You don't know what type of day that happened. Now that person's in your face. Something that could have been avoided of just being kind, just being, you know what I mean? Hey, how you doing? Da da da. Move on. Now you had to be passive aggressive. You wanted to say something smart. You wanted to be disrespectful. Now that person's in your face. Now you got a physical altercation. Now Clayton County in your face. Now Fulton County in your face. Now DeKalb County in your face. Now Cobb County's in your face. Something that could have been easily avoided. Now you're dealing with criminal charges. And you have no idea what you're up against. And a lot of the times in this legal system, they're going to stack charges. Yes, so a simple fight is now aggravated assault.
You're so right. Oh, my God. You are so right. That's why, yes, we've got to go ahead. And audience, I want you to pray with my brother and us, all of us, because we always need prayer. Because there's forces out there already listening to this broadcast, already probably heard God call his name and said, that's my son. There's purpose in him. And he's already sitting there trying to strategize. How can I go after him to cause his testimony to falter? It's not going to be. God has established him on this earth for a purpose. So we're going to touch and agree and keep him covered, keep everybody covered. There's purpose, and it's getting ready to go forth because he's going to stand in the power and authority of God's word. What about that? Finish.
Another thing I guess we could talk about when you say that, when there's forces against you, whether you believe in God, whether you believe you're not a non-believer, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, you have to understand that the best way to keep negative things away from you is to only vibrate and give off positive energy.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
But let me interject. The reason I say that, we already know, you heard my broadcast on many times. We are lights in a world of darkness. And it's the enemy, which is Satan, that God threw. More or less, he threw him. I tell people, no, he didn't cast him. He threw him out of heaven. I believe it. Because he said, you are not any kind of, example to heaven because you're of evil. You're out to destroy man. And I told many on the broadcast, there was a purpose in him being thrown down, but I believe he's approached God and said, let's do a challenge. When I come down here, when you make man in your image and give him a chance to have the very authority that you have said I had in heaven, now let's see what he'll do with it. You understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
So he gave man choice. So you can choose right or wrong.
Even Jesus was
Evil or
tested.
good. That's exactly.
Even Jesus
So,
was tested.
thank you. There you go. See, I'm telling you. So that's why I say it's going to come at children of light because you're trying to darken that light in us. And what is the light in us? I'm just going to let you answer some things too.
The light in us is God.
There you go. And his spirit. So he's telling us, be as a light that sitteth upon a hill. You just explain it. Where if you just be kind, even if they come back at you, because you're going to have enemies of your soul, because that's literally what Satan is trying to grab someone else that does not care anything about the word, does not care what they think they doesn't care about God. But that veil of ignorance that came upon man at the Garden of Eden when they cast him out, that the light of God and knowledge of him and knowing a relationship with him will take that veil off. So that's what we believe, we are lights. I know you have a light. That's why I say, and you're going to use it for the glory of God. But I guess what I want to know now, if God was to say, son, I'm going to put you on. Now, sometimes podiums are not just preacher podiums, because we found out some of that doesn't help people because that person may not have totally matured in God. So they cause many to stumble. But if God was to say, Adolfo, or however he would relate to you as his son, you all had that relationship in there where you all was at. But son, you know what? I have this purpose for you. Go hypothetically. Because I'm telling you, God's getting ready to take you, when I said places that your mind is not imagined. He may communicate with you later on, but you got some doors getting ready to open. It's going to take you, like I said, regions. You're getting ready to go there. And the more you talk, and like I said, you know what you sound like, and I'm telling you what you sound like because I got a friend that's a psychiatrist. You took me a therapist, and she talks all the time. But no, not like talk-wise, but I'm talking about she has exactly what people be saying, and the more you talk, I see it. And many men going to come to you just to be able to get that, but your anointing that's going to be in your life is what's going to be the deliverance.
A lot of people have come to me, and I do my best to help them.
See, that's good. You have the heart. So I guess we have about 8 minutes. I'm looking at my son over here. I told you I have to keep looking back. Everybody wonder probably who he's looking at. But no, tell me right now, what's in your heart? What's your aspirations for just life itself?
My primary aspiration is to be the best follower of Christ that I can be. At the end of the day, we have to make sure that every day to say that you want to be Christian is to be Christ-like, and to make sure that you're doing the best that you can every day, to be helping others, to be charitable when possible, and just to be leading a righteous life.
Yes. Oh, yes.
And I feel like now is to not only do that and to help those around me if possible and when I can, but also to set that foundation for my family to establish generational wealth. And then to surpass what the foundations that my father has laid.
Yes.
I think that's my primary aspiration.
Okay. Well, you know what? I'm going to talk to my brother later on. May not be today or whatever, but we're going to talk because I believe he should have a show. I just believe it. For me, and see, we're going to get a lot of men looking at this. I'm telling you, I meet so many men, and you know you hear so much about men, and I don't know why the purpose of me meeting young men or men, period. But I guess because the relationship what I had with my father, I always look in men to see that example. When I say example, just being a man and knowing how to take care of things and take care of their family and love that family. And so that's why I say I'm seeing, and maybe you and we don't know what God's getting ready to do, but we know it's going to be something for the glory of God, because that's what it's all about. Many people don't understand when I make that comment. I don't see nothing I need. Not trying to say, no, it's just that, if you know you can get it at that time, if I need it, I believe God will give it. But why would I try to hoard everything? Oh, I want that. Because let me tell you, I just got an offer. I think it was about a week, and it might have been more than 1 week and a half or maybe 2. I got an offer to make $500,000 a year. It was going to give me a $500,000 home. Wherever I want to travel, they're giving me a private jet that it would take me around just to go around and speak to people. And I thought, but let me tell you, tricks of the devil. And I knew it wasn't. I'm going to tell you why. I know the person because that was the person I was going to sign up to be with. Never knowing that he was this type person. And when you hear the name, you're going to say, oh my God. I had signed the agreement to travel with this young man, billionaire. And you heard probably maybe 2 or 3 months ago when I said it. All of a sudden, this young man started talking. And I tell you, listen to what someone say. Let them talk, 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 and finally whatever the truth is going to come out. Guess who it is? No, I'm not going to tell you the person who it is, but I'm saying, guess what the organization is? I just needed to sign my name. He kept trying to tell me, sign your name. And I'm like, wait a minute, sign my name. If I'm a speaker and I'm going to be talking to people and I'm going to have all of this, Illuminati. Beyonce, well, they call a lot of people. But I'm like, I said, I'm not going to sell my soul to the devil. Not when I know I can get all that right now. I said, but right now, what would I do with a $500,000, a house, jet? I'm not going anywhere right now, and I don't understand people who does. That's their desire. But why would I have a jet somewhere that's going to take maybe $1.5 million just to take care of, just to put in the hangar? That's stupid. So now you understand what I'm telling about. The enemy who's going to come after you, because there's something good inside of all of you all that got purpose. But I don't know the purpose behind why I had to sign my name, like a contract. Now you understand what I'm talking about. Why would I have to make a contract to do something like that? But when he ended and said, Illuminati, I said, isn't that of the devil? And then he said, well, and called the man's name that I was going to travel with. He doesn't say that about who he is. And I said, oh, he's Illuminati? They said, yes, who do you think it is? I said, so you want a Tom Cruise, people? And you know why? He never said it, yes or no, but I knew that's what it was. So we need to be very careful. And I'm serious. It's a reason behind it. I don't know what the future holds for that, but it's a reason. Why would I be tempted with that? Because I'm not going to tell that lie now. I thought when he started calling all that stuff out, I said, whoa. But then God said, I can give you anything without a contract. And I said, thank you. So that's what I'm telling you. Y'all got some futures before y'all. I always call my son because I thought he was about your age. But he said, no. I'm not going to call you age. But I said, but I guess when I'm looking at the world, they need y'all. That's all I can say. They need both of you all because you all have purpose. Not that I don't have purpose, because I told my son, and I have him laughing all the time, the one that called. I said, Mama going to always be with it. You know, you're trying to use your cliches. And he just busts out, start laughing, Mama, that's not it nowadays. But you say what you need to say. But I am so admiring of what you do and what God has done in your life. And like I said, get ready. And I'm being facetious too now. But my son going to remember me. When we finish all your stuff, you and your wife and your baby, remember me if I'm over in Switzerland somewhere. And I said, son, Mama can use you. I need some money. Let me stop playing, buddy. But this is going to be a millionaire, probably be. I don't know what God's got purpose for, but I know he's a blessed young man, you all. And I want you to keep us all up before prayer. And before we go off, I was thinking about a song, but we don't have the time, and we do have to close it. Anything else you want to address the audience to?
I think I've said enough.
Look at you. But see, he's humble. I'm telling you, he's humble to have so much inside of him that God has put in him. And he's humble. And that's very, go ahead.
People contact you.
Oh, yes, go ahead.
If people would like to contact me, my Instagram is United_Notions. And on Facebook, it's my name, Adolfo de Gracia Jr. If you don't put Junior, you're going to be adding my father. So
I met his father. He's good, too. Go ahead.
So, yeah, you can contact me via those two avenues. I'm not really big on too much social media. Or anything. Email is adolfodegraciajr@gmail.com. So,
okay, you see.
Pretty simple.
You all have some questions. Young men, tell your husband, your brothers, your sons. And like I said, we're going to set something. It's got to be now because I know he has a lot. And I'm going to try to pray about it and see another young man maybe that they can sit down and talk. But like I said, I thank God for the purpose that God allowed us to meet because I knew it was purpose. I tell anybody, you're going to have a guest too. Got 2 more guests. The pastor I was talking about that we're going to go ahead and make sure she's established with her church. When I found out, God, the lady is blessed. Oh, my God, when I said blessed, a blessed pastor. She was in the 4 days, what we're going to get ready to see more now. We're casting out demons. When you say snakes and stuff, oh, no, it's not a fictitious type thing. She was there when demons cried out, what you see on TVs like exorcists and stuff like that. And see, that was my day, how we grew up with calling out demons. And this getting ready to come back again, I'm telling you. But you're going to meet her. Then her son, he's one of the boxers that's getting ready to box, what his name? Mike Tyson's, and another man. Even though I'm not into boxing, it's this white guy with all these tattoos and everything on him. And I said, what? You know that? She said, I know Monica. She said, I know Akon. She said, my son knows each of them because he's also a limousine driver. I guess he does the same thing you do. And he's a boxer and a bodyguard or whatever that is. But keep him in prayer. He had something happen in his body. He went for a gallbladder surgery and it messed up. So be in prayer for him because God's now getting ready to make him rich for malpractice. But I just praise God for my sons with plural. I'm just excited, you all. You just don't know this. Hubby, if you're out there, know your wife will be on the go all the time. I may bring you along sometime, but I want to see my sons thrive and go forth in the glory of God. But again, thank you for taking your time out to listen to Repair the Breach with my special guest, my son, godson, Adolfo de Gracier Jr. You're going to see him again because we're going to make sure we get him a show so he can come and express the word of God and the love of God to many of you all. Have a blessed, anointed and powerful, prosperous week. Until next week. Find out more about our broadcast, Repair of the Breach, on Facebook, Instagram, or YouTube. Thank you for tuning in.